Hello everyone, Burb here. I don't normally get the first roll guide out this quickly, but I had some time after work today, and with the release schedule the way it is, I'd like to just get this one out. So let's talk about pace chasers for the Aquarius Cup. Let's begin. I'd like to repeat the anti-frustration plan. Reason being, it turns out people play pace chasers. Who'd have thought? Most people actually just watch the pace chaser guide and don't actually watch the Capricorn overview guide. I suggest watching the overview guide because we are going to reference it a little bit, but it's not required. If you want some stats, 136% more people watch the pace chaser guide. So anti-frustration plan, if you're not done with Capricorn Cup and you have 3 passable Umas and you're just trying to min-max, just stop and build for Aquarius. You're going to save yourself a lot of frustration. You have a few more attempts. The CM's in a day and a half. Let's just move on, get a good foundation for Aquarius Cup. So if you are not happy with your Umas for Capricorn Cup, or you don't even plan on running, just send some team trial Umas in. They should be fine. Skills kind of carry that CM. So our pace chaser is good in Aquarius Cup. They are very good. I think they're probably the strongest role, just the way it seems to be shaping out in tests, but you have very good UMA options, as unrestricted as restrictive as the Dirt CM is. A lot of them are pace chasers or can be built as pace chasers. I think there's the big 3 that are 3 very strong, very easy to build pace chaser UMAs that you can run triple pace chaser, or you can run a slew of them and then supplement with other roles. Also, because we're going for 601 stamina due to the threshold, the stamina penalty for pace chaser doesn't really matter. And of course, you have an incredible amount of acceleration options of different types. You have positional based ones, you have high roll based ones, you have ones that are guaranteed but have timing restrictions, stuff like that, condition restrictions. You have your own salad of different choices, essentially. They're very easy to make. You have a lot of options. However, there's a couple caveats. I am putting this here just kind of as a warning. They're somewhat vulnerable to stamina debuffs. We'll talk about that. The slightly longer spurt length means technically late surges and end closers. If they hit, they will win. And fronts, if there's too many fronts, which I think there will be a couple of fronts at least per run on average, VPP in particular gets kind of killed off. So it's kind of more of a high roll skill or a skill for wits, for high wit Umas. Also, no Bakushin this time, because Bakushin last time, no Bakushin this time. But when I'm talking about this and like this vulnerability to stamina debuffs, don't really worry too much about it. If you're going for 6-1 stamina, you're fine. This gives you a 2.5% speed boost that is separate from the logarithmic relationship that speed has with speed stat has with speed. You need about 550 to finish the race with 400 guts, right? But if you have awful mood, rushed, debuff, stuff like that, you kind of are butting right against that to where your Uma may not spurt. So what I suggest is just go for 6-1 stamina. I find it's easy and you have upside. If you don't get it, either get a white recovery or pump your wit, because there is that downhill right here on the map. It is less, but it still will save you a little bit of stamina if you do end up going into downhill mode, okay? So let's begin. This is the track. Just for reference, we're going to start with the guaranteed accels. When I say guaranteed, I mean these are timing-based accels, but they can be used well as a primary acceleration option because they will give you lengths no matter how badly they proc, as long as they proc and you meet the wit check. The strongest ones, I think, are forward march and head on and ig power or ig guts. If you are running a power or guts build, you will have access to those or through your parents, but head on and forward march are the 2 that you will probably be searching for through your parents. Highlander is very good as well because of this uphill, but it has the max of third timing, so it is slightly worse than the other 2, but all of these will give you lengths, and they are very, very strong, okay? The ones you complement these primary accelerations with are your position-based acceleration skills. The notable 2 are Victoria Por Plancha and Give Mummy a Hug. It's turning out in tests that Give Mummy a Hug is very consistent in terms of, well, if you're not absolutely destroyed in the whip battle, you should be in 5th and you're an Uma in front of you. So you should get a decent proc with Give Mummy a Hug. Victoria Por Plancha is for high rolling and for high wit builds because 1st and 2nd only, okay? So usually pairing one of these 2, a lot of people are going to do VPP because ECP is easier to build. It's pretty difficult to get a Give Mummy the Hug on a parent without sacrificing sparks. And then pair that with a guaranteed acceleration. That is my suggestion, and usually those 2 are plenty, okay? Some other options for position-based accelerations, you can do either Gold City. They have their own specific things they're looking for. Unfortunately, pass target means essentially that if you're looking to pass somebody, if the game calculates you're going to pass somebody, that usually happens a little bit early. But if it does proc late, it does give you acceleration. Dancing the Leaves is a side block. It has the opposite problem in that it doesn't always work, because if you've ever played Winning Ticket, side block is like the weirdest condition in the game, and that the game just decides not to do it sometimes. So if you're side blocked at the right time, Dancing the Leaves has very high upside as well. Resplendent Red Ace can, if you're in first or in second with a pass target, just like an overtake target, just like Gold City, it will proc, but you do again need to proc this late. So again, VPP, Give Mummy a Hug, the two better acceleration options, because they do not require specific late procs in order to do. Other options, you have some other gambling accelerations. I call them gambling because they are not 100% reliable, and they sometimes will give you nothing. First of all, Straight Excel and Rushing Gale, which is the equivalent of Turbo Sprint as well, but this is, for all racetrack sizes, has a 50-50 chance of either being in the early game or in the late game, right? It chooses a random point on a random straight. What I found is, well, if it looks like it's a 50-50, either it's at the start and it's a pace down breaker, or it's at the end and it is a late race acceleration skills. Unfortunately, there's also this dead zone at the end. So really the total effectiveness is closer to like 20 to 25% than 50%, because if you just kind of look by eyeballing it, it's about a 50-50 on whether or not it gives you a significant amount of lengths. So it's there if you have the skill points. Regular Straight Excel is fine just as just a pace down breaker helper. Stuff like that, okay? Corner Connoisseur and Corner Acceleration. There's a little bit of math here I did just to do, some math this video. Essentially what this is you want it to proc late and extend into the acceleration zone. You can see here that basically the corner starts at 650 and ends at 1100, and the spurt starts at 1067. Essentially, if it goes and it procs in that 650 all the way to what looks to be about 900-ish, 967, it does you nothing, right? And so if you just take the math of the amount of times where it actually does stuff versus the amount of times it doesn't, it's about 29.5% effective. But if you really think about it, you kind of want your acceleration skills to have about like 2 lengths or more, right, to really get it above a standard speed skill. And really it's closer to 22% to be super effective, as I call it. So both of these are kind of niche acceleration options you can add if you have the luxury of skill points. No Stopping Me looks very good, has ridiculously high upside when it procs properly. Unfortunately, because this is a straight track, right, and the corner happens right here, sometimes it is less of a problem as a sprint CM. Your Uma will just choose an outer lane and no one will be near you. So there's times where they the Umas fan out far enough that No Stopping Me will never have a chance of procking, but when it procs, it is absolutely ridiculous. I like picking No Stopping Me if I have the skill points. Again, it is less important than some guaranteed excels. Just being a late surge main myself personally, I enjoy these sort of on your left style accelerations. I find them to be a little more reliable. Other accelerations, just White Lightning, Shooting Star, I See Victory in my future. These ones generally just are a weak inherit. They don't have very high upside even when they proc, and they usually have conditions that are tough. Tamama Cross is probably the easiest condition, but again, it's 0.05 excel. It doesn't really do that much. Look at Curran, needs a late pass into second or fourth. You probably should be in second to fourth as a pace chaser if you're going to win the race, but if you're a lucky pacer and drop back, it kind of acts as a pass protection a little bit. Technician Shrewd Step, as always, can proc at any point in the race, and 9 times out of 10, it'll proc way too early because you will probably be in the inner 2 rails at some point in the race, right? Acceleration is the same way. It can proc at any point of the race, and most likely you will have a pass target before the late race, right? Flyer Maneuver has niche use in pass protect builds, and I never goof up, of course, as I showed before. If you look here, the timing is so incredibly tight. Like, if you are able to pass it, it has ridiculous upside for its skill point costs, but look, you have basically a 2-second window to pass somebody. So if you want a high roll, go for it. I do not suggest it personally, at least from what I have been testing. Someone else may find in the comments it's really good, but I have not been able to. So some bad value excels that don't work. Redshift, in my opinion, Pacers should be better than 5th by the final corner. Otherwise, I think you are losing the race. Second, the straight descent skills do not work because downhill ends too early. And Shooting for Victory as an inherit doesn't work because paces should be second to fourth by the final corner. The same reason as Marzensky, so I don't suggest any of these. Gonna grab some water. Okay. It's actually Diet Mountain Dew because I needed caffeine today, but whatever. Next thing you need mid-race speed skills. Your standard ones work. So your corner skills, your Professor of Curvature, comboed with Itsan, of course, will work. Mile corners, pace chaser corners, those are your standard mile pace skills. Speed Star from Fine Motion is the premier corner skill because it's final corner only. These all have speed carryover potential at different rates because, hey, especially Speed Star has just final corner, so it has the shortest chance of choosing a better random point on that corner. The mile specific ones is Shifting Gears. Ignited Spirit always happens, but Shifting Gears, Changing Gears is the mile version. It is anywhere in the mid-race, so it's the least reliable, but having a mid-race speed skill proc not on a speed carryover is still very good. And even though if it doesn't speed carryover, you're trying to fight for first and second place a lot as pace chasers trying to fight against the front runners. That's how you win the game, so it's not bad if it procs badly. Some other options. A lot of these are not skill point efficient because they are equivalent to white skills, but they are there. Air Groove is 3 or worse in a pass. You got Bakashin for a side block in first through third. You have the ever reliable Narita Bryan with her second through seventh outer pass. Essentially, it's kind of like a 3-part thing that builds into that. And you do have Team Upper O, where if you're close to the in front or behind you in the first half of the race, you will get some speed carryover possibly. I like this one a little bit because it actually has a pretty short time where you can actually kind of manipulate it a bit, but a lot of these are very expensive, so you have to get like 4 or 5 hints in order to get it down to where a white skill is, because these are all 0.15s, okay? Some other skills just in general, these ones, Slipstream and Playtime's Over can get speed carryover. A lot of times they're going to proc early because their conditions are so easy, either in front or behind, right? And then Top Pick, trending in the charts, Unyielding Spirit, Big Sisterly, the Mile and the Dirt speed skills. Unfortunately, Unyielding Spirit requires a pass target. The pass target basically is the computer calculates you're going to pass somebody at your current speed within 15 seconds. That happens on like any good wit roll or like pro curve hits, right? That's probably going to happen, so it'll probably proc early. And then TP trending in the charts, or Top Pick trending in the charts, is going to happen early too, because the odds that you're in a clustered pack, unless you're like a lucky pacer, right? The odds you're in a clustered pack, you're probably getting side blocked at some point in the mid-race that's not the very far corner. It's possible, but these are really just basic mid-race speed skills that are still good to pick up because they help your game plan of trying to beat those front runners, right? You're trying to move forward in the pack. All right, late race speed skills, or pace down breakers, essentially. Pace down mode breakers. Your straight skills are these ones. They cover double duty because there is a straight at the start and a straight at the end. Simple as that. So straight adept, do not let these charts fool you. If you hit your acceleration, these will be a lot more reliable. You technically can hit a straight skill in the acceleration zone and it does get eaten up, but the more accelerations you hit, the better your straight skills. So your mile straights, pace straights, straightaway depths, stuff like that, beeline burst, right? Those will all work as a pace down breaker in the start of the race or a late race speed skill. Triumphant Pulse, stuff like Triumphant Plunge, Pulse, and Homestress Haste are only for late race, and stuff like Umamusume functions mainly as a pace down breaker because Umamusume, the condition will happen pretty early on in the race a lot of times, okay? So pace down breakers, you have the gamble of, well, whether the skill is going to end before the pace down ends and then it causes you to pace down, or if you're able to chain through skills, later on in the early race to essentially get past the point of position keep, okay? There's a final skill that we need to talk about, and that's Mile Maven. Mile Maven is a little interesting in that it only can work as a pace down breaker, essentially, or as a, it just doesn't extend past this early race, which means that it's good if it chains with something else, like Umamusume, let's say, for some reason. It's a low percentage and is considered a luxury skill. And with a lot of pace down breakers, generally the white version is just as good because the duration doesn't really increase with the gold. So It's a luxury skill. You can take it. I know it's on Taiki Shuttle. It's probably not worth 360 skill points after really looking at it, okay? You can see the simulator doesn't like it. I think it's a little better than the simulator says, but mainly it's just hard to model pace down odds because who knows what's going on at the start of the race. It's just a lot of different RNG of how the other racers do that affects you, okay? So it's basically a badly timed Umamusume. All right, let's talk about cards and how to get these skills. The one to really think about is, are you going to run Mayano Top Gun Speed? Because Mayano Top Gun Speed gives a 50-50 for head-on. It's like you're playing an end closer trying to get straightaway spurt. There's an argument for that. There's an argument for just getting it through your parents or a blue explosion. The thing is, she also comes with Corner Adept, Competitive Spirits, Straight Adept, Nimble Nav, 4 good other skills. So it's really not that bad, and her generation for speed is actually not that bad either. So it's kind of probably your best option for the borrow slot. You can do left-handed for Suzuka, you can do Rushing Gale, and a bunch of minor skills for Tokaiteo, although Tokaiteo's speed gen is not as good. But I think most of us will be fine with Kidison Black. Kidison Black gives us Pro Curve, she gives us Straightaway Adept. It is very good, 2 good skills on a speed card that has probably the best speed generation in the game still. Biko Pegasus, if you have her high LB, and she does have very good speed generation, competitively with Kidison Black, does give minor skills like Productive Plan, Outer Post Proficiency, but otherwise mostly Sprint. Gold City is for debuffers because you get the Keen Eye debuff, where you basically, if you just want to pretend this is a Sprint CM, you technically have a little bit of a 60% Dominator debuff. Acceleration as well as a minor skill, not very good. And then the more late surger card, Zeno Rob Roy, speed does give left-handed, Straightaway Adept, Nimble Nav, and Pace Chaser Savvy. Okay, so most of the power of these speed cards are actually in the SRs. That pretty much, it's easier to get over time. If you have Shinko Windy, I suggest running her just because her speed output and race bonus is very good. And she does come with Prepared to Pass, Shifting Gears, 2 very good skills, as well as Competitive Spirit and Unyielding Spirit, which are 2 minor skills. Vodka SR, if you have her high LB, her generation, as I've been finding, is not the greatest, but it has power bonus, which is kind of interesting in certain builds. She has a 50-50 for mile corners, although it seems like I have lost it every single time, so I may just be unlucky, but I don't believe it's a 50-50 personally. She has Straight Adept, Nimble Nav, Mile Straights, Tokyo Racecourse, Homestretch Haste. Just so many hints you can get on this card. That's very good. Almost more of a parent card than anything, but if you have her high LB and other speed options aren't as good, she's a decent card, honestly. King Halo, as always, comes with Firm Conditions, Outer Post Proficiency, and Homestretch Haste. The real power is the Wit cards. There's 2 big ones here. The biggest one, of course, is Fine Motion. Fine Motion, Speed Star, 50-50. Otherwise, you get Prepared to Pass, Corner Adept, Competitive Spirit, Straight Adept, Nimble Navigator. 5 very good skills. This is a borrow slot recommendation as well if you don't have her. You can run 1LB or higher Yukino Bijin. She gives No Stopping Me. She gives Winter Runner. She gives IPP and Near Post Proficiency and Corner Acceleration. She just doesn't have the best solo wit generation, so she needs to be paired with a second wit card usually. For SR options, Prepared to Pass and Shifting Gears on Daiwa Scarlet. She's here because she just has very good wit generation. The best one probably, Fujika Seki, has Prepared to Pass. She's kind of like baby Fine Motion, right? Mile Corners and Unyielding Spirit as minor skills. And then Measure Arden I put here because of left-handed, Pace Chaser Savvy, Pace Chaser Corners, stuff like that. I don't like the card. No race bonus. Not the greatest wit generation in my opinion. So those are the wit cards. Let's grab some water. All right, other cards of note. A lot of people forget. Hey, Sakura Chiyono O, Stamina has Speed Star and it's not a 50-50. So if you're running the Stamina build, that is basically only for pure comfort. You can actually just, borrow or run just a basic Chiyono O and get your Speed Star every time. Comes with a couple minor skills. Inari 1 Power SR has Forward March, which is a pretty difficult skill to get if you're not trying to get it through parents for like an Agnes Digital, right? Comes with Winter Runner, Target Insight, Ramp Up, Tail Held High. Lots of very good skills on this card for the power cards. And usually your power cards are there for the skills. Seeking the Pearl Guts, as a reminder, always has Umastan, essentially. Right. Both Daikakatu Helioses have very good skills in this and Ramp Up, Mile Corners, Gears, Slipstream, and Longshot. And the SSR does have Pace Chaser Corners, right? Rico is a very good card in this one because, hey, Rushing Gale is somewhat usable, right? Rushing Gale's usable, and this happens to be a PAL card that is very good in the CM. So those are the cards that I suggest running. Your borrows mainly will probably be Fine Motion and or Myono Top Gun Speed, to be honest. Or Kittison, of course, if you don't have Kittison. So those are my suggestions for cards. Let's talk about characters. I can't go through every character, of course, but I will probably go through all of them this time that are not forceable because there's only like a couple of them, right? Let's begin. I'm going to start with what I like to say are the big three. So the first one, Taiki Shuttle, is very easy and very strong. Reason being, her ultimate shooting for victory, you do not get full effect, and inherit doesn't work, but you do get an additional like little extra second and a half, and that is enough to put her like 5 lengths ahead of everybody else according to Simulator. It's probably a little bit less than that in real practice, but she just comes with so much stuff. Prepared to pass changing gears, pace chaser savvy, mile straightaways. Only thing is Dirt B, she has a very nice stat spread of 20 speed and 10 wit, so super comfy, super easy to build. Your free-to-play option is going to be, sorry, I forgot to mention she has Mile Maven as a luxury, and if you get her medium to C+, you can go for the guaranteed head-on. It is like a 50-50 kind of whether you win those races, but you generally will if you have Miles medium C+, rather. So if you're building like parents on her, essentially, just for future, you can put some medium sparks in the back and then, you know, get it up to C. It only takes 2, right? El Condor Pasa is your free-to-play option, the original. She comes with Victoria Porplancha, which is essentially you want to do a wit build. You want high wits and as many mid-race speed skills as you can muster to try to get first and second place. There's a little bit of RNG with comps, but if you build enough mid-race speed skills, which are essentially your corner skills, you can pretty consistently at least contest the front runners in the end of the mid-race. So that's kind of the build. Power is not needed as much because you have the guaranteed acceleration if you get into position. So pump your wit, get as many corner skills as possible, and then just let her try to win the race, just like the Sprint CM. Dirt B is also always, as well as a very good stat spread as well. 20 speed, 10 wit, just premier comfy stats. Straight adept, pace chaser straights, and for Unity only, as we're going to have some Mant in this CM, right? If you build her in Unity before the Mant start, you win the NHK, Mile Championship, and Yasuda Keenan, you get some bonus stats, which is very nice. So very easy to build. This is the second of the big three. The third one is Oguri Cap. Turns out Triumphant Pulse is a very good skill, as per usual. This late race speed skill, because it's basically 3 late race speed skills built into one, because it's 3 times stronger than an Inherit, right? Is just, it'll carry you if you get there. So what you need is you need power and you need acceleration options, right? She comes with Nimble Nab, which is like a minor skill, but 20 speed, 10 power. You're building, her bonuses support what exactly you're building. So she's more of a power build in my opinion, because if you get there, Triumphant Pulse will carry you to the victory, right? Corner Connoisseur is good as a luxury skill, but otherwise she just comes with a flat, generic pace chaser with a very good end, late raced. Christmas Ogre is a little bit more difficult. Festive Miracle, 777's a little too early, so you kind of have to gamble with corner recoveries or straight recoveries, whatever you wish. Comes with a winner runner though, stamina bonus, so power builds work, but I think most people are running the wits because you need wit for your skill procs. Not really an Ogre Crap Christmas player myself, but she is there. She is technically playable. Agnes Digital, I think one of the easiest characters to build. She comes with, like everything, very weird stat spread. Pretty much can build her any way you want. OMG, the final sprint's a little iffy because you generally want to pass people later in order to get this to proc. But if you really think about it, this is kind of a lesson in common sense. If you're passing people early to the point where this skill doesn't really get any value, you're probably winning the game because that means you're just accelerating faster than everyone else. She also comes with Umastan and Superstan as a luxury, acceleration as a luxury, lead the charge, which is pretty much the only way to get the gold skill consistently. And if you build your digital first, you will be able to pass these down into your other Umas. So Agnes Digital can be built late, but it can be built Pace Chaser as well. Oh yeah, I keep forgetting. She has more skills. Top pick, Homestretch Haste, Mile Corners, Unyielding Spirit. Yeah, the screen can't even show how much this character gives you, essentially. So this is kind of the winning ticket of this CM. She just gives you everything you need. All you need to do is race. Get as many skill points as possible so that she can get as many of her good skills, okay? Smart Falcon, medium and hard. First question I ask, if you're building Smart Falcon Pace Chaser, why? She's kind of built as a front runner, but if you are, I guess she has 2010 speed power. Top pick. That's about it. Good luck. Gold City, both of them are good. The regular Gold City has a slightly more reliable ult. I think the condition's a little bit easier to proc and has a higher upside. And you get a couple extra skills. If you're a debuffer, you can build Keen High. But other than that, she doesn't really give much. And the Festival version has a lot better stat bonuses, which we're finding like with Mayano Top Gun, for example. The Wedding Mayano is generally better because you get speed and wit, right? So Gold City's there, just as a little bit more forcing option. Both of these are pretty decent actually to inherit as well. So just some options. So I like to say the category 3 of building is, you build your Umas that are future account builders. As I was mentioning, as I said before, the best two I think are going to be probably these three in the middle because VPP is good. Triumph Impulse is a good inherit as well. Agnes Digital specifically for forward march, trying to get it onto your other Umas. And then both Gold Cities are fine. I am going to talk about 2 more characters. So first, of course, Taiki Shuttle's good if you are building for future Mile CMs. The parents will be decent for it, so feel free to build that. It's a pretty easy character to build anyways. And I'm going to talk about Tiamat O. So Tiamat O is a force because she has Dirt E and Mile E, which means you can really only get to like Dirt C, Mile A. If you like this character, though, Dance for Victoria is a perfectly serviceable mid-race speed skill. She comes with stamina bonus, which is kind of more purpose-built for the power build because you can press the power button to get your stamina easier. Comes with the Prepared to Pass and Speed Star innately, so you can try out some different cards. And, of course, straightaway depth. So you might be able to just grab, Mayano Top Gun Speed, for example, instead of Fine Motion. Just go from there, run like a 2-speed, 3-wit build, or, 2-speed, 2-wit and a power card, stuff like that. Notable thing from this is that the parents coming from this, because Dance for Victoria isn't actually that bad of a skill to inherit either. So even if you get Mile A, you can kind of just build some Mile Dance for Victoria parents. And if you like the character and you get it like one singular Dirk Spark, and let's say you get Head On from Mile Top Gun Speed because you don't need Speed Star, you kind of have everything you need to win. And Dirt B is perfectly fine if you hit your accelerations. So just a thought. Final thing. Super Crate technically is very strong because if you get her there, Give Mummy the Hug is like you have 3 of the best acceleration skills in the game instead of 1. She has Dirt G, Mile G. I don't expect many people, if any, to grab it. Technically, if you get lucky and you get 2 pink sparks on Mile, 2 pink sparks on Dirt, and you get like Dirt C, Mile A, and you hit Give Mummy a Hug, it's kind of GG, right? Gives a couple of other Pace Chaser skills, but don't recommend this, honestly. This is very, very like min-maxy, and I think that Taiki Shuttle is very good in general too, and gives like half of this, and she doesn't require you to run 100 runs. So if you get hit by this, unlucky, right? All right, checklist. So just get your stats, get some baseline power and wit, some 601 stamina, that's all required. Grab your primary acceleration skill, which is like Head On, your Highlander, something of that sort. Grab your mid-race speed skill. Grab your additional acceleration options like maybe VPP, Give Mummy a Hug, stuff like that. And your late-race speed skill or pace down breaker. You'll be fine if you have those, okay? If you have additional time to min-max or you get a particularly lucky run, pump your wit, pump your power, grab more mid-race, grab more late-race. You saw the luxury skills, grab those at the end. Pace chasers in general just win by a high mid-race, like, high mid-race, lots of mid-race speed skill procs, and Victoria por Plancha or Give Mummy a Hug, or they proc multiple accelerations and then go. Be careful not to over-accelerate. You don't need 7, 8 accels, right? You could get like 3 or 4, but the mid-race speed skills are just as important as the accelerations. I've explained this as kind of the rule of squares before. So, if you have 5 accelerations and 1 mid-race speed skill, you have like 5 times 1, that equals 5. If you have 3 accelerations, 3 mid-race speed skills, you have 3 times 3, which is 9. So 3 times 3, more than 5 times 1. Grab some acceleration skills, grab some speed skills, make a very well-rounded Uma. Go and cover the weaknesses of your Umas. All right, that has been the Pace Chaser Guide. Any questions you have, put them in the comments. I'll try to get around to them. Up next is going to be the late surger guide. Going to take me a couple days. Going to be honest, I like late surges a lot, so I'm going to try and get as much info into that as possible. So I will leave you with this, the second part. You probably have seen this before if you've been around a while. The anti-frustration plan. Start with the meta Uma. If you like pace chasers and you have the info available to you now, I've given you the big three, which are Oguri Cap, Taiki Shuttle, ECP Pace. Build one of those. They're very easy to build. They are very good. And then after that, start building fun stuff. If you have an Oshi on that list of 9 characters that are really good, really easy to build rather, build that. Then build Umas to further the account. I went through that in this video. And then repeat step 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3, right? If your Oshi is a force, you can then, once you have a couple of good Umas, try to force them into this. You can get Dirt C and B cope, right? Be kind of okay if you hit your accelerations. Anything less than that's a little tough. So good luck if you're building a pace chaser. The late surger guide is to come. Hope you enjoyed. Burbout.